कण्ठाश्रुतरङ्गभाजो वन्दे गुरु श्रीचरणारविन्दम् श्रीविग्रहारा घननित्यानाना सिंगारतन्मन्दिरमार्जनादो युक्तस्य भक्तांश्च नियुञ्जतोऽपि वन्दे गुरु श्रीचरणारविन्दम् चतुर्विधा श्रीभगवत्प्रसाद साधनतृप्तान् हरिभक्तसङ्घान् कृत्वैव तृप्तिं भजत सदैव वन्दे गुरु श्रीचरणारविन्दम् श्रीराधिका माधवयोरपारा माधुर्यलीला गुणरूपनाम्ना प्रतीक्षणा स्वादनलोलुपस्य वन्दे गुरु श्रीचरणारविन्दम् समस्त शास्त्रे उक्तस्तथा भारतैव सद्भिः किन्तु प्रभौर्य प्रिय एव तस्य वन्दे गुरु श्रीचरणारविन्दम् यस्य प्रसादात् भगवत्प्रसादो यस्य प्रसादान्न गति कुतोऽपि ध्यायन्स्तुवंस्तस्य यशस्त्रिसन्धिं वन्दे गुरु श्रीचरणारविन्दम् ध्यायन्स्तुवंस्तस्य यशस्त्रिसन्ध्यं वन्दे गुरु श्रीचरणारविन्दम् नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते।
कोई खिड़की खुला तो नहीं है?
निर्विशेष शून्यवादी सत्यदिशतारिणी
नमस्ते। नमस्ते करो।
नमस्ते नरसिंहाय प्रह्लादलाददायिने हिरण्याकाशे पूर्वक्षः शिलाटङ्कनखाय इतो नरसिंह परतो नरसिंह यतो यतो यामि ततो नरसिंह बाहिर्नरसिंह हृदये नरसिंह नरसिंहमदिं चरणं प्रपदे नरसिंहमदिं शरणं प्रपदे तव करकमलावरेणाखम् अद्भुतसिंहं दलिता हिरण्यकशिपो तनूभिङ्गम् केशवघृता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय नरसिंहदेव नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय प्रहलाद महाराज प्रहलाद महाराज प्रहलाद महाराज जय जय महाराज जय प्रभुपाद तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी नमो नमः रज राधा कृष्ण सेवा पावो এই अभिलाषी ये तुम्हार शरण तारा वांछा पूर्ण कृपा करी कर तारे वृंदावनवासी मोरे अभिलाष विलास कुंजे दियो बस नयने हरि सदा युगल रूप राशि निवेदन धरो सखीरनुगत करो सेवाय अधिकार दिए करो निज दासी दिन कृष्ण दासे गाए मोरा श्री राधा गोविंद प्रेम सदा नभासे नमो तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी नमो नमः कानि च पापानि धर्मात्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणाशन्ति प्रदक्षिण पदे कानि च पापानि धर्मात्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणाशन्ति प्रदक्षिण पदे अनतानि च पापानि ब्रह्मत्यादिकानि च अनतानि प्रणश्यन्ति परमं निन्दायै तुलसीदेवे प्रियाय केशवस्य च कृष्णभक्तिपदे देवी सतते नमो नमः निन्दायै तुलसीदेवे प्रियाय केशवस्य च कृष्णभक्तिपदे देवी सतते नमो नमः निन्दायै तुलसीदेवे प्रियाय केशवस्य च कृष्णभक्तिपदे देवी सतते नमो नमः भक्ति प्रदायिनी देवी तुलसी महारानी की जय।
मीटिंग के लिए कोई नहीं है।
आ रहे हैं
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Chapter 1, 11. chapter 2, 11.
अच्छा तो अच्छा तो
Chapter 2. 11.
रिबन है ना उसमें?
Yeah.
yes sir
What is that text number?
29 बोलिए
Okay, very-
text number 29 for the condition soul the human body is meant most difficult to achieve and it can be lost at any moment. But I think that even those who have achieved human life rarely gain the association of pure devotees who are dear to Lord of Vaikuntha. Purpose by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. इसी भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी Srila Prabhupada. According to Sridhar Swami, the word Dehina means भावो देह भवन्ति तेसाम ते. The conditioned souls who accept innumerable material bodies, according to some wishful thinkers, a living entity in human form of life will never be degraded to a lower form such as that of an animal or plant. But despite this wishful thinking, it is fact that according to our activities at the present, we will be elevated or degraded by the laws of God. At the present time in human society, there is no clear or precise understanding of the nature of life. Foolish scientists have invented highly sophisticated technology and theory to bluff innocent people into believing that life comes from the chemical reactions. His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada has exposed this bluff in his book Lives Come From Life, which point out although scientists claim that lives come from chemicals,
But what is he already doing here?
क्या सेवा?
is preaching में Guru Maharaj. Which point out that although scientists claim that lives come from chemicals, they cannot produce so much as an insect, even from unlimited quantities of chemicals. Actually, lives and consciousness are symptom of the spiritual soul. In Lives Come From Life, page 43, Srila Prabhupada has stated, living beings move from one body to another. The forms already exist. The living entity simply transforms himself just as a man transfers himself from one apartment to another. One apartment is first class, another is second class, and another is third class. Suppose a person comes from a low class apartment to a first class apartment, the person is the same, but now, according to his capacity for payment or karma, he is able to occupy a higher class apartment. Real evolution does not mean physical development, but development of consciousness. Within every species of life, there is consciousness, and that consciousness is the symptom of the living entity, who is the superior energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Without understanding the this essential point of the transmigration of the consciousness living entity throughout 80 84 lakh species of life, one cannot possibly understand the words.
It is cold outside.
बहुत ठंडा है.
Yes, Guru Maharaj.
इसे ज़्यादा करना है.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. पहले के कंपेरिजन में थोड़ा कम.
क्लास करने हैं.
क्लास कौन दे रहा है?
गुरु महाराज होगा आज की क्लास है.
फ्राइडे है. फ्राइडे
दुर्लभ मनुष्य देह. The human body is very rarely achieved. People are now being cheated of this essential understanding. They are completely unaware of the danger of slipping back into the 8 million species that lie below the human species. It is natural that a human being think in terms of progress. We want to feel that our life is progressing and that we are advancing and improving the quality of our life. Therefore, it is urgent that people be informed of the great danger of misusing the valuable human life and that they know of the great opportunity the human life affords. The opportunity to take a Krishna consciousness, just as on earth different residential areas are divided into high class, middle class and low class. Within the universe, there are upper class, middle class and lower class planets. By practice of the yoga system or by meticulous execution of religious rituals, one can transfer himself to higher planets within this universe. On the other hand, by neglecting religious principles, one will degrade himself to a lower planets. But the Supreme Lord Krishna declared in Bhagavad Gita, Aham Brahm Bhuvana Loka Punar Avartino Arjuna. Thus, the final conclusion is that every planet within the material universe is an unsuitable and inappropriate residence. Because on each planet there are the primal defect, old age and death. The Lord assures us, however, that in his transcendental abode, which lies far beyond this material cosmos, life is everlasting, blissful and absolutely cognizant. The material world is temporary, troublesome and life with ignorance. But the spiritual world called Vaikuntha is eternal, blissful and full of perfect knowledge. The highly evolved human brain is a gift given by God so that we may use our intelligence to distinguish between that which is eternal and that which is temporary. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 2.16. Those who are seer of the truth have concluded that matter has no permanent existence, whereas the spirit soul never ceases to exist. Learned seers have concluded this by studying the nature of both. Those who have accepted the Supreme Lord and His abode as the ultimate goal of life are called Vaikuntha Priya. Here, King Nemi stated that to have the personal association of such learned transcendentalists is certainly the perfection of human life. In this conclusion, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur suggested that we consider the following verse. The Supreme Lord said, "The best of bodies, a human body, is a great atonement, rarely achieved, and may be compared to a boat. The Guru is an expert captain for this boat, and I have sent favorable winds, the Vedas. Thus I have given all facilities for crossing over the ocean of material existence, Any human being who has achieved these excellent facilities of human life but does not cross over the material ocean is to be considered the killer of his own self. Bhagavatam 11.20.17. According to Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, the eternal servant of the Supreme Lord, being controlled by powerful feeling of mercy, descend into the material world as Vaishnavas to deliver the conditioned soul who are bound by the result of their own mundane work. Such Vaishnavas also distribute their mercy to those who are laboriously searching after the impersonal absolute. Sri Narad Muni has stated that without ecstatic love of Godhead, such laborious, impersonal contemplation of the absolute is certainly troublesome. And what to speak of the innumerable problems of ordinary gross materialistic life? We have practical experience that in the Western countries most people are working hard to get money, laboring under heavenly dreams of sense gratification. Others, having become frustrated with ordinary materialistic life, are trying to neglect their personal existence and merge into the existence of God through so-called yoga and meditation. Both classes of unhappy people are receiving the mercy of the Krishna consciousness movement, putting aside their dreams of sense gratification as well as their troublesome impersonal speculation. They are learning to chant the holy names of God, dance in ecstasy, and feast on the holy food offered to the Lord. They become enlivened by the transcendental knowledge spoken by the Lord Himself in Bhagavad Gita, as it is. As the Lord stated in Bhagavad Gita 9.2, Susukham Kartum Abhyayam. The actual process of spiritual freedom is joyful to perform and has nothing to do with fruitive activities aimed at sense gratification or with dry impersonal speculation. More and more people are taking to the process of Krishna consciousness, becoming joyful and eagerly distributing Krishna mercy to others. Thus, the whole world will be enlivened and inspired by the Krishna consciousness movement, which is the practical demonstration of the mercy of the Vaishnavas. Text 30, translation. Therefore, O completely sinless one, I ask you to kindly tell me what the supreme good is. After all, even half a moment's association with pure devotees within this world of birth and death is a priceless treasure for any man. Purport. The word swadhiha or a great treasure is significant in this verse, just as an ordinary man is overjoyed to discover an unexpected treasure. One who is actually intelligent is overjoyed to gain the association of a pure devotee of the Lord, by which one's lives come easily be perfected. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, the words Avyaktim Kshemam or that supreme good indicates that situation in which one cannot be touched by even the slightest fear. Now we are entangled in the cycle of birth, old age, disease and death, samsara. Because our entire situation can be devastated in a single moment, we are constantly in fear. But the pure devotees of the Lord can teach us the practical way to free ourselves from material existence and thus to abolish all types of fear. According to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, normal etiquettes would dictate that a host immediately ask a guest who has arrived about his well-being. But such an inquiry is unsuitable to place before self-satisfied devotees of the Lord, who are themselves the bestower of all well-beings. According to Srila Vishwanath, the king knew that it would be useless to ask the sage about their business affair, since the only business of the pure devotee of the Lord is the achievement of the supreme goal of life. According to Bhagavad Gita, the goal of life is to free oneself from the cycle of birth and death and reinitiate oneself as an eternal servant of God on the platform of spiritual bliss. Pure devotee of the Lord do not waste their time with ordinary mundane affairs. Sometimes foolish relatives of a Vaishnava preacher lament that such a transcendental preacher has no use his life for material business and that so much money has therefore been lost by the practice of spiritual life. Such Such ignorant person cannot imagine the unlimited prosperity available on the spiritual platform to those who have surrendered heart and soul to the mission of the Lord. King Nimi was himself a learned Vaishnava, and therefore he did not foolishly ask the sages about ordinary worldly affairs.
What is the time, Prabhu?
6:43.
He immediately inquired about Atyantam Shemam, the highest, most perfect goal of life. According to Vishnath Chakravarti Thakur, the word Anagha, O sinless one, has two meanings. Anagha indicates that the 9 Yogendras were themselves completely free of sins. It also indicates that merely by the great fortune of seeing them and hearing from them submissively, an ordinary sinful man could also be free of his sins and achieving everything he desired. One might object that since the great sage had just arrived, the king should not have been so impatient as to inquire from them about the perfection of life. Perhaps the king should have waited until the sages themselves invited his inquiry. Such a hypothetical objection is answered by the words Shenarbadhati. Even a single moment's association with pure devotee, or even half a moment's association, is sufficient to give one the perfection of life. An ordinary person who is offered a great treasure will immediately desire to claim such a treasure. Similarly, King Nimi was thinking, why should consider myself fortunate enough to have such great sages stay here for a long time? Because I am an ordinary person, undoubtedly you will soon be leaving. Therefore, let me immediately take advantage of your holy association. According to Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, in this world there are different varieties of mercy, but ordinary mercy cannot bring about the sensation of all unhappiness. In other words, there are many humanitarians, altruism, and social reformers who certain work for the betterment of humanity. Such persons are universally considered merciful, but in spite of their mercy, humanity continues to suffer in the grips of birth, death, old age, and disease. I may distribute free food to the needy, but even after eating my merciful gift, the recipient will again become hungry or he will suffer in some way or other. In other words, by mere humanitarian or altruism, people do not actually become free from unhappiness. Their unhappiness is merely postponed or altered. King Nimi was joyful upon seeing the Yogandraj because he knew that they were eternally perfect associates of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, he thought, you are not prone to sinful activities like unfortunate mundane people such as me. Thus, the word you speak carry no deception to exploitation. The materially conditioned soul spend their days and nights discussing various topics of sense gratification. They never find time to hear about transcendental knowledge, but if one only briefly or accidentally they hear Hari Katha, topic of Krishna, in the association of pure devotee of the Lord, their prosperity to suffer in this material existence will slacken. When one sees immediate person hear about Krishna from them, remembers their saintly behavior and so on. One's tendency to behind himself in the illusion of sense gratification is diminished and he becomes eager to serve the Supreme Lord. Text 31. Please speak about how one engage in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord. If you consider me capable of properly hearing this topic, when a living entity offers loving service to the Supreme Lord, the Lord is immediately satisfied, and in return he will give even his own self to the surrendered soul. Purport. Within the material world, there are two classes of mundane philosophers who present their opinions about the Supreme Lord. Some so-called theologians claim that we are infinitely different from God, and therefore they tend to look upon the Lord as something far beyond our power to understand. Such extreme dualistic philosophers outwardly or officially claim to be pious and religious believer in God, but they consider God so much different from that which is within our experience that according to them there is little profit in even trying to discuss the personality or attributes of the Supreme Lord. Such outwardly faithful persons generally take to productive activities and gross materialistic sense gratification, being infatuated with the mundane relationship of the material world, which appear under the heading society, friendship and love. The Advaitwadis or non-dualistic philosopher claim that there is no difference between God and the living entity and that the highest goal of life is to give up our personal existence, which is due to illusion, and merge into the impersonal Brahman impulsion, which is devoid of name, form, paraphernalia, and personality. Thus, neither class of speculative philosopher is able to understand the transcendental personality of Godhead. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in his sublime teaching of Achintya Vedabhed Tattva, or simultaneously oneness and difference, has clearly demonstrated that we are quantitatively one into God and but qualitatively one with God, but quantitatively different. God is personal consciousness and he has his personal form. Similarly, we are also personal consciousness and ultimately, when liberated, we also have eternal form. The difference is that the eternal form and the personality of the Supreme Lord sustain unlimited potency and opulence, whereas our potency and opulence are infinitesimal. We are conscious of our personal body, whereas Lord Krishna, the absolute truth, is conscious of everyone's body, as stated in Bhagavad Gita. But although God is infinitely greater than the living entity, both God and the living entity are eternal personalities with form, activities, and feelings. The Supreme Lord Krishna expands himself into innumerable living entities to enjoy rasas or ecstatic relationship with them. The living entities are part and parcel of the Lord, and they are meant to serve him with love. Although the Supreme Lord is eternally the predominator and the living entity is eternally the predominated. When the living entity surrender unto the Lord with a sincere loving attitude, desiring to serve the Lord eternally without the slightest expectation or personal reward for such service, the Lord immediately is pleased as expressed here by the word prasanah. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is so unlimitedly merciful and magnanimous that in his gratitude to such a surrendered and loving servitor, he is immediately inclined to offer anything, even himself, to his surrendered devotee. There are numerous practical historical examples of this loving propensity of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because of the love of Mother Yashoda, child Krishna, in his form as Damodar, surrendered himself to his loving mother and allowed himself to be bound with rope as a childhood punishment. Similarly, feeling indebted to the Pandavas for their intense love for him, Krishna, his form as Partha Sathi, happily agreed to drive the chariot of Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Similarly, Krishna in Vrindavan is always thinking of ways to satisfy the gopis, who are universally recognized as the most exalted loving devotee of the Lord. Such intense loving feeling exchange between the Lord and his pure devotees would not be possible were the living entity not qualitatively one with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and indeed inseparable part and parcel of the Lord. On the other hand, because both the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the living entities are eternally individual, each with his own eternal individual consciousness, such loving exchange are a perpetual reality in the kingdom of God. In other words, absolute oneness with God and absolute difference from God are theoretical imagination of different schools of speculative philosophy. The perfection of spiritual love, as described in this verse, is based on simultaneously oneness and difference. And this absolute reality was elaborately presented by Lord Krishna himself in his Brahminical incarnation as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu have expounded this perfect doctrine in innumerable books, culminating in the teaching of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who has most perfectly presented this knowledge in a way that is understandable not only in India but to all the people of the world. Our present insignificant attempt is simply to complete his translation and commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam, and we are constantly praying for his guidance so that.
Thank you. Yoginath. Thank you, Prabhu.
Sì. हाँ थोड़ी देर में बैठे रहिए घर बैठिए गरम में ये चेंज नहीं किया था कपड़ा
Chama do homem, essa turma. विश्वम्बर तैयार नहीं है।
तैयार है।
विश्वम्बर मैं रुमान करना। विश्वम्बर हेलो मुझे तीनों ऑर्डर बजा ये मेरा रुमाल था जी।
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. तुम अपने हिसाब से फास्ट एड खाता हो। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे।
कसं आप ना क्या बोलूं आपको प्रेम होना चाहिए और कुछ नहीं।
Thank you, God, Maharaj. Thank you, Krishna.